Those fans, we are coming up on opening day, and the question is who makes the team in the Orioles bullpen? We'll find out. Joe Rossano's Orioles report with the handsome Matt Faulkner is next. Welcome to Joe Rossano's Orioles Report with Matt Faulkner. Want to start off, however, by saying thank you to Andy Koska, beat writer for the Orioles for the Baltimore Banner. Sean Ferguson, Orioles Today. Please check us out at YouTube at Joe Rossano's Orioles Report. Check out those two episodes. Really good insight from both Andy Koska, again, beat writer of the Baltimore Banner. Sean Ferguson, Orioles Today. Who makes the team so far as the bullpen is concerned? Matt Faulkner.
Well, let me just say it's tough to follow those two guys. I had the chance to check out both of those episodes, and as a fan, I like hearing from other guys that cover the team, and in particular, like Andy, just getting his input there. I mean, he's got a pretty good pulse on the team, being down there in Sarasota with the team, and so I thought that was an awesome episode. So again, appreciate you, Andy. My concern, Joe, right now, as we sit here 18 days or so away from opening day, and this was a concern that I had back in January, and it seemingly has took a turn for the worse over the last couple of days. The bullpen, you saw Andrew Kittredge. He is going to start the season on the injured list. He was penciled in, I think, to have a pretty big role in the late inning part of the game with the Orioles and setting up closer Ryan Helsley. And so you take him out of the mix, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see kind of the last couple bullpen spots and who takes those jobs. A guy that I am excited about, and I want to get your thoughts, Tyler Wells is a guy that was a reliever back in 2021, closed some games out that year, if I remember correctly. They converted him to a starter. Now it looks like he's going to be back in the bullpen, and I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. What do you think? What do you think as far as Tyler Wells and how he projects into that bullpen?
The circumstances. Tyler Wells, again, as you noted, was a starter in 2023. I think, and I could be wrong, or was he a starter in 2024? I'm sorry. Figured him out. I don't want to say for a long guy, because a long guy generally is a guy who can pitch. If it's 8-0, the Orioles are leading, or 8-0, the Orioles are losing. I think that Tyler Wells has to move further back into the bullpen now. If you got Kittredge out, as you indicated, and the reports say that he will be out opening day. And I think Tyler Wells has to be used in perhaps some type of setup role, or, again, moves further back in the bullpen. I think he's a very good pitcher. And I'm happy that we have him in the bullpen. It makes me feel better. I know that he was coming off surgery, pitched relatively well last season, had a few starts, and again, I think, he's relegated to the bullpen now for the start of the season, and I think you're going to see him in the 7th and 8th inning, unless I miss my guess.
No, and I had a chance to read. They had an article that was put out where they were kind of asking him how he felt about being sent to the bullpen, because I think a lot of times being sent to the bullpen, once you've at some point been a starting pitcher, it's almost like you're being demoted, or it's almost seen as like not a positive, but kind of a negative. And I think with Wells, I think from all accounts, he seems to be excited about having a role in that bullpen. Kittredge, his loss, I don't think can be understated, because he was a veteran. He's 35, going to be 36, pitched in the postseason. And now, he's out of the equation, at least for the time being. And Tyler Wells, like you mentioned, probably becomes one of their later inning type of guys. And it's interesting because you look at his stuff just from a velocity standpoint. He's not going to throw 97, 98 miles an hour. He's a big guy. Was he 6'7"? But if you look at, the metrics and all those analytics that comes with with baseball nowadays, his 92, 93 mile an hour fastball plays up because of his spin rate. He's 6'7", so the extension on the mound, I think it's really hard for hitters to pick up. And so it might only be 92, 93, but it ticks to probably in the upper 90s, with the analytics. So I think that it's a way that, again, you can monitor his usage. So he's coming off Tommy John, so it's a way to kind of make sure you're doing right by him, because you're looking at it from the win now perspective, but you're also wanting him to be a part of the team going forward. You don't want to run him into the ground. And so he fills a role that he's done before. And, I think he is good enough for that pen right now, but I still think there are some other holes that are going to have to be sort of cleaned up, figured out, however you want to phrase it, with some of those other spots that are quote unquote still up for grabs.
Well, speaking of still up for grabs, let's focus on what isn't. Okay, we know Ryan Helsley makes the team. Yennier Cano, it makes the team. Keegan Aiken makes the team. Uh, Dietrich Enns, from what I understand, all indications that he makes the team. Again, Kittredge is down. Tyler Wells makes the team. Albert Suarez has not pitched that well in the spring. He still makes the team. Grant Wolfram, left-handed guy, can get it up there 97, 98 miles an hour, has had a very good spring. Does he make the team?
Yeah, I mean, right now I would say that his odds are pretty good. You figure with a bullpen, you're going to want to have multiple left-handed relievers. So Keegan Aiken obviously checks one of those boxes. We mentioned Dietrich Enns. He's had a really good spring. He closed out the last half of the season in the bullpen and did a nice job for them. So he's sort of continued that. I think that he probably makes it. And then we mentioned Grant Wolfram. It's hard to kind of go against what he's shown that he can do. He's 6'7", gets the ball up in the upper 90s. The thing that's interesting, though, about all three of these guys is if you look at their splits, it's not necessarily like they are better against left-handed hitters than they are against right-handed hitters. There really is not much of a difference with these guys. So it's not like one of them is like a left-handed specialist. So that is one of the concerns that I have. Number one, I don't trust Keegan Aiken. I don't trust him, especially if you're putting him in a high leverage role. If you're expecting him to be in the seventh and the eighth inning, I've seen that show a time or two. I know how it ends. It's not pretty. So if I was Mike Elias, I would be looking at a guy like Danny Coulombe, who was with the Orioles, 2 seasons ago. They opted to let him go, and they decided that they would keep CNL Perez over Danny Coulombe. CNL Perez didn't have a very good season last year. They didn't bring him back, but Danny Coulombe is still a free agent. He had a little bit of an injury issue last season, but by all accounts, he's healthy. So he's a guy that I think potentially could be someone that they turn to. But if not, I think it speaks to how comfortable they must be with the pen the way that it is with the lefties.
Yeah, I mean, here's another one is Rico Garcia, picked up from the Mets last year. I like him, and I think he goes north. I think he makes the team. I mean, again, he is on the Orioles' hot arms list. Last three appearances, 3 innings to a 0 ERA. Um, I, I imagine he makes the team, if I'm not mistaken. I think, again, Dietrich Enns. I think there is something in the statistics and analytics, something that you brought up earlier that the team must like about him. Is Dietrich Enns? I mean, and you tell me, Matt Faulkner, he's that good? I mean, is he?
I mean, I think that he's the best option that they have as far as lefties go. When you look at guys outside of Keegan Aiken, he probably is right there. But I think that also is a little bit of a product of, again, that bullpen having a lot of uncertainty. I know we talked in the past about, a few years ago, Felix Bautista. Nobody knew who he was, and he came out, had that year. Yennier Cano was another one that wasn't a well-known commodity at the time. He came out of nowhere, seemingly had a really good year. But to bank on that happening year after year, I don't know that that is a way to sustain success. And I think looking at the Orioles offseason, if there's one thing that I would change about it, it would have been to at least go on and sign another reliever that you could put towards the back half of the bullpen. To me, it seems like the guys that we are looking at, a lot of them are more of your fifth, sixth, maybe seventh inning guys, but I don't know that I would definitively feel comfortable with any of them being like a setup guy for Ryan Helsley. And that is a concern because, as you know, the AL East teams can hit and no lead is safe. And so the worst thing that you can do is have your starter go out and pitch well and then your bullpen give it up because of inexperience and lack of stuff.
Somebody mentioned quite a bit Michael Kopech. Um, I liked him, especially when he was with the White Sox. He throws triple digits. Is he an option still for a trade? Or is he just another one of those injury prone guys that unfortunately you can't seem to depend on?
I think it's more of the latter. I'm looking at his profile and it looked like he finished last season on the injured list and I guess had a knee issue. So, and the fact that he's still a free agent and that every other team hasn't signed him tells me that there probably are some concerns with his health. And now we're at a point in the off season where we're almost about to break camp in a few weeks. So it's like at what point is signing a free agent, especially one that's been injured? I don't know that that would make sense. I think there is a chance maybe that they go out and sign another veteran reliever. But my question is like, if that was going to happen, you would have thought that that would have been done by now, or another injury. I don't know that that is going to happen. I mean, I could be wrong, but the timing of it, I think it would have already been done.
So I think Rico Garcia. I think Dietrich Enns. I think Grant Wolfram. I think they make the team because I'm just not sure if anyone else is available. As you mentioned, we got injuries again. Kittredge down again. This time a shoulder problem. And yeah, I just that it's a concern amongst the experts is the Orioles bullpen. Again, from an offensive standpoint, they look great. They look great. And I'm talking, even the younger guys look good. The starting pitching, I would have preferred a Ranger Suarez, as I know you were high on Framber Valdez. I would have preferred a trade for Freddie Peralta. But, again, Zach Gallen signed back with Arizona. So, you know, that's, I think the Orioles have a stable uh, uh, rotation, but the bullpen, and I assume they're going to probably, they have six starters, so we probably see Dean Kramer in the bullpen, and he could move further back in the bullpen under these circumstances. Um, Cade Povich, I assume, may or may not make the team. And Albert Suarez, as a long man, because they have to move Tyler Wells, I would say, at least a seventh inning guy now. So, I imagine that Rico Garcia and Grant Wolfram, I imagine they make the team unless they trade for someone or sign a free agent and, uh, as you mentioned, Danny Colomé, or Colombe. I mean, it seems to be said so many different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
We're gonna have to
Well,
chat GPT that one.
it's
But
funny.
you know,
It's
I
No, I was just saying it's funny because like for as optimistic as I am about the rotation, I'm as pessimistic, and I hate to be negative, I'm as pessimistic about the bullpen. I mean, we're
Yeah.
banking on Ryan
No,
Helsley having a big bounce back season. He was not good last year with the Mets. He was really good with the Cardinals. So you're banking on him returning to form. And then, like I said, you're putting a lot of eggs in some baskets that are with unproven major league arms, and you just hope that they'll be okay. I mean, I think back to 2014 with the rotation that the Orioles had, they made up for it because they really stabilized the bullpen and they cut down the
oh,
game
you
from a
bet.
9 inning game to like, it was like a 5 inning game. If the Orioles went to the bullpen in the 6th inning with a lead, it was pretty much over. You had guys like uh, Darren O'Day. I remember they traded for um, Andrew Miller was on the team. Brad Brock. You had Tommy Hunter. You had Zach Britton. And so, there was some talent that you felt good. If you had a 1-run lead in the 6th or 7th inning, you felt like you were going to be able to hold that. And now it's like
Back to
I don't have that.
2023, same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, my least. I love all the Orioles, but if you're asking me who do I trust the least in a pressure situation, Keegan Aiken. Like I think that Keegan Aiken can have a role in the bullpen, but if Keegan Aiken is your best left-handed reliever, to me it's a huge red flag because he has not shown that he can live up to those big moments. And so that's my concern right
Yeah.
now is left-handed arms and just the overall inexperience with that entire bullpen.
Did not fare well as a closer last year. Um, Especially against right-handed hitting, Keegan Aiken. So yeah, I mean, I always felt that Keegan Aiken was a middle reliever or a long man. Yeah, definitely not
Well,
somebody you
it's
want in the back of the bullpen there. We do not disagree.
it's funny because we're talking Keegan Aiken. I've noticed at least last season, whenever there would be a rain delay, they would always play if it was especially if it was a longer delay. Masson would always play like old games. And instead of playing games like within the last couple of years when the Orioles were pretty good, for some reason they kept showing games from like 2019, 2020. And like, I just remember one of those games is always the Yankee game. Keegan Aiken was a starting pitcher. That's kind of
Yes.
how far down the Orioles once were, where he was a
Yes.
starting pitcher for them. And
He came up
and
as
I
a
just
starter. Yep.
he did, and they quickly realized that he does not have the stuff to be a starter. And I don't necessarily love him as a reliever either, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so anytime people talk about Keegan Aiken, I'm like, I just glad he's not starting. I guess at least he's in the bullpen. But yeah. So again, my major concern right now is the bullpen. The bullpen
Well,
right now is
again,
an issue.
somebody from the rotations going, and again, the Sean Fergusons of the world, and other experts say that that Dean Kramer is bullpen bound.
Yeah,
That's
but
what they say. So again, but that can't hurt out there in the bullpen, Dean Kramer.
it can't hurt. But you, I know, have been a big proponent of the 6-man rotation, and I'm not saying
Yes.
that I am totally like for it, but I could also see that it could make sense. So, do I think that it's a possibility? I do, because if you put Kramer in the bullpen, where would you where would you really put him? I mean, yeah, like I feel like the long man role in a bullpen is kind of like not really what it used to be because like especially if you are a team that is contending and expecting to make the playoffs, a long man is just kind of saying that your starters, one of them is going to get hit around. And so, like, if he's a long man and the rotation is as good as I think it's going to be, like, how many opportunities is he going to get? And if you're putting him in the back part
Long
of the
man, and I think
bullpen and he's never really been a
yeah,
reliever, yeah,
no, he
I just,
hasn't. Six
I think that's
sixth
asking
inning
a lot.
guy, sixth inning guy.
Yeah,
But you know what they
I
say
think,
about beggars. So,
listen,
beggars can't
yeah,
be
yeah,
choosers. So we don't have an option out there right now.
I mean, would there be a scenario where maybe they look to trade a starter, whoever that guy that, I mean, if it's Dean Kramer, that's the odd man out, doesn't make the 5-man rotation. Would there be a scenario where they look to trade him for bullpen help? Could you package him and Ryan Mountcastle with
I
a
think,
team looking
yeah,
to?
I think that's a very strong possibility. See, here's my Dean Kramer problem. He has been your most durable go-to starter over the past few seasons. Where we got all these injuries here, injuries there. He's always been right there, 4.1 career ERA. I don't know if that was a ticket to the bullpen, but it is what it is. But I do think that, yeah, they're talking about Dean Kramer. They're talking about Ryan Mountcastle for a bullpen arm. If not now, then probably at the deadline. But again, I think well, Wolfram makes the team, Enns makes the team, Rico Garcia makes the team. I would think. So we'll see. But what I can tell you, what I can guarantee you is pregame, postgame live coverage here. Joe Rossano's Orioles Report with Michael Sullivan and the handsome Matt Faulkner. That is March 26th. I'm so excited about this. March 26th, 2 o'clock. We'll be live. You can call in. You can join us live. Michael Sullivan is going to be our field correspondent. It's just going to be so much fun. And then we'll be back about 6:30 for Orioles post game here. Joe Rossano's Orioles Report with Michael Sullivan and Matt Faulkner. Speaking of which, for Matt Faulkner and Michael Sullivan, I'm Joe Rossano. As always, I say God bless you, O's fans. Don't forget to adopt a pet. We know that. And we will see you next time.